and welcome back to the Faith and Culture Show. I'm Catherine Camp, your hostess for the show. This is where we educate ourselves in order to learn how to engage our culture with conversations that count, conversations with an eternal perspective. I have a returning guest today. He's a friend. Can't believe I've almost known him for 10 years now. It doesn't seem like that long, but Tony Gurule is an incredible apologist. He really knows his apologetics to Islam. He is a Christian apologist. I don't want to get any of that confused, but he's also a missionary and a teacher, and he trains people how to discuss topics, difficult topics, with people who are Muslim or people who have friends who are in the Muslim faith. So we're going to talk about different world events today. I'm very excited to get him on because Tony stays on top of all sorts of things that I just don't know enough about. So I'm bringing on a professional here.
Hi, Catherine. It's great to be with you.
Thank you so much again. I know that you're busy with your own ministry. And I do want to talk today about the things that are happening in our world today and the Islamization of, like, the UK. I know someone in the UK, and in fact, we're doing a show next week, and he is just, he's beside himself as what's really happening over there that we just don't get to hear in the United States. He says his country is absolutely falling apart. So I don't know if you can get into too much of that, but tell us what's going on in the world as far as this Islamization, and is it kind of happening here, and what we should be looking for? I know that's a lot, so start where you want to start.
Sure. Well, Catherine, basically the answer is yes to all those things that you just mentioned there. And this has been happening for a long time. Unfortunately, it takes as much as far as we are right now for people to finally realize this. We came out with Lights Out When Islam Rules America back in 2019. And back then, when Trump was still in office and everyone think that, life is perfect, then people were like, oh, that would never happen. And we had all kinds of negative accusations. But people who actually took the time to watch it and watch to the end, they realized that it's a very important presentation for people to watch because it's a warning. You know, one of the people's responses when I gave it live for the first time was, Tony reminds me of Paul Revere. And I told people, this is Islam according to Muhammad. It's great when you have a Muslim neighbor who loves American freedom and would never want to live under Sharia, and might even say, hey, I'm from the Middle East, or my parents are from the Middle East, and life isn't good there, and I'm so glad I'm in America. That is great, but a neighbor like that doesn't define Islam. And we don't want to point them to the primary sources saying, hey, you need to be more like Muhammad. But it's important to know that they aren't representing Islam according to Muhammad. And it's important for Christians and even non-Christians to know what Islam according to Muhammad actually is. What's the traditional story of Islam? Or we call it the standard Islamic narrative of how Islam came about, which in and of itself sounds very bad to Western ears. Maybe back then, the things that were said about Muhammad was a good thing and made him sound powerful and everything else. But from a Western morality, which is based on the Bible and the Ten Commandments and so on, the origin of Islam is bad in and of itself. And yet you have people in America who are sugarcoating Islam. They've been sugarcoating Islam for many years, making people think or trying to make people believe that ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the jihadist groups, oh, that's not real Islam. That's an aberration of Islam. And your peaceful Muslim neighbor who says they love Jesus and they believe in God and all this other stuff, that's true Islam, but it's not. And unless you look outside of the media and the Islamists in the West who are trying to make Islam acceptable to the West, you're not going to know what true Islam is. Now, again, we have many Muslims in the West who are not doing what Muhammad said to do, and that is a very good thing. And we don't want to point them to the primary sources if they haven't read them. But at the same time, you have Muslims in the West who are peaceful, quote unquote, right now, simply because whatever call or whatever they're waiting for to basically rise up and have an Arab Spring type situation in America, or as we've seen the whole Israel Palestine and on college campuses, you have all these young, impressionable, naive people who are chanting these Islamic nursery rhymes, pretty much, which are really a call for genocide of the Jews. And people are not going to know, unfortunately, until it's too late, what the goal is here and what America is looking towards. And all you need to do is watch Lights Out, which was banned on Vimeo in 2020, but it's been thriving on BitChute, and people, amazingly, it's still on YouTube. But it talked about the four areas of American society that have been being Islamized over all these years and many years before. And that's education, immigration, government, and churches. We've seen all four of these take place in America, but before America, we have seen it take place in Europe. And as you had said, London, Britain, France, I mean, we have all these different places in Europe that have become Islamized. And the thing is that they thought that this was a good thing. I mean, you basically had this guilt complex in Germany and Europe because of the Holocaust and what happened to many Jews. Ironically, they've basically teamed up with the group who hates Jews more than Hitler did. But I know we're going to get more into this as far as why this, the origin of it and how it took place. But what people need to know is that the Islamization of the West, and that's America, Canada, Europe, has been happening for a long time. And the mass immigration has been a huge factor in that happening. And yet, look at what's happening in America right now. I said in Lights Out 6 years ago, America needs to learn from Europe's mistakes. And if we don't, we're going to follow in their footsteps. And it looks like that's exactly what we're doing.
Which, if people understand what that means, it's terrifying. And we really have to put a stop to it. I guess we have to work through the proper channels to put a stop to it, through speaking to our legislators, maybe even our sheriffs, but there's just so much happening right now, Tony. It's like we're being hit from all sides. And, it's one thing to be concerned and to know about what Sharia law is, what it actually is, and what it means, so that people will have a better sense instead of thinking, well, yeah, Islam is being a Muslim is a peaceful religion. And that's just very misleading. And I don't think most people don't know that. But it's another thing to see what's happening on the college campuses, from the river to the sea chants. Many of them don't even know what it means. They're just getting carried away with it. That would be the Americans don't understand, but they just feel like this is, we need fairness for everybody, and Israel is bad. That's what they're thinking because that's what they're being told. And they're hearing stories of what may have happened with their fellow students there on college campuses. So it's an emotional response, which is always not wise. I can't think of any time that it is wise to act on emotional responses, especially when you don't have full information. But it's another thing, we have medical attacks on us right now. We have attacks from a globalist sort of group out in Davos and those areas, trying to call all the shots on everybody. And then we have this chaos. So I'm not sure, where do this movement in America fit into all of that? Do you think that people who know what's going on or who are part of pulling all the strings kind of have unplugged that side of it, or do the Islamists see that everything is chaotic, so they're going to take advantage of the chaos? I don't know which one to think is going on.
Yeah,
Did any of that make sense?
yeah, it's really a combination of things. What has allowed, or what has basically prepared these things to happen on campus that have been happening, is the funding of these universities by foreign countries over the last couple of decades.
Hey, thanks for watching the Faith and Culture Show. If you'd like to continue this particular episode, please go to the Rumble link below or click on the QR code and join me on the Free Speech platform over there. Look for the name of the episode and start about the 10-minute mark. I hope to see you there because it's a good one.